Good morning, Revolution, everyone. My name is Taryn, and we're bringing you a very exciting special edition of Good Morning Revolution this morning. We will be focusing on the remarkable, inspiring, frankly, just thrilling encampments that have been popping up all over the United States, demanding a ceasefire in Gaza, and also for universities to divest from the US and Israeli war machines. This morning we have Craig with us, who is from Yale. We have Jason with us, who is from Cornell. And we have Natalie, who is with us from Michigan State University. And I am just bursting with pride that all three of these comrades have been taking a really leading role in building these movements on their campuses. And so I just want to welcome all three of you from the bottom of my heart. I am just really thrilled that you're here. So thank you very much. First things first, I wanted to sort of go around, do like a bit of a lightning round and ask each of these panelists if they could give us, a 3 or so minute summary of what it is that's going on campus and how it is that they personally are relating to it, how it is that their clubs or their YCL chapters might be relating to it. And so Craig, if you don't mind, I think we should start with you.
Yes, happy to start. Good morning, everyone. For a little context on me, I'm Craig. I'm a senior at Yale University, majoring in history. And our sort of movement started back last week on Monday, April 15th, with sort of the tagline "Books, Not Bombs." We constructed a row of bookshelves on Beinecke Plaza, which is sort of the big plaza at Yale University, and almost immediately our bookshelves were taken down. Um, we were restricted from painting and doing art on the plaza. And yeah, ever since then, the university has really taken the approach of trying to silence us after several months of not engaging with the issue of Palestine or ceasefire, which is incredibly unfortunate. Um, Despite the repression from our university, we stayed out on Beinecke Plaza um, throughout the rest of the week. We didn't start an overnight encampment until Friday, which was actually the second to last meeting of the Yale Corporation, which is our board of trustees, the governing body of the university, which also manages the university's endowment. Um, and on that day, we established an encampment that lasted until early Monday morning, when 48 of us, including myself, were arrested by the Yale Police Department. So it's been an incredible week, both in terms of repression, but also in terms of the community building that's been happening on Yale campus. I think a particularly beautiful part of what's going on here at Yale is that we're bringing in the New Haven community into our work, which is amazing given sort of the elite and exclusive nature of this university. So we're really grateful to have built this space and also to receive so much support um, from our community members outside of the university.
Wow, that's really incredible work that you guys have been doing, and I am really hoping that you all have. I'm sure you do have everything really nailed down, but the jail support and the court support and stuff like that. But yeah, no, thank you for that wonderful summary. Jason, would you mind sharing what it is that's been going on at Cornell?
Yeah, thank you. This past Monday, we passed a referendum calling for Cornell to demand a ceasefire and also for them to divest from 10 war companies, nine of which were American and one of which was Israeli, because Cornell, like many universities, has a economic relationship with these institutions, whether it be through investment in technology or general educational programs. We have a lot of ties to genocide. But going off of that referendum, we've been using that momentum a lot to kind of direct the trajectory toward more broad mass movements. So we started the encampment really early last morning. The police have not been very violent so far. Ithaca, as maybe some of you know, is kind of an isolated city in comparison to Cambridge or New York City, especially. The police departments are quite small, but the benefit is that Ithaca social and progressive movements are very tight knit and they're very well connected. And so when this encampment started, there is immediately a huge swell of a crowd that blocked off the encampment, and there was only like what 2 police cars. It's kind of impossible for them to even try anything so far. Um, but yeah, demands that this encampment has been making has been like inspired by Columbia, but also our own unique conditions as a land grant university. We've instead of just demanding for things regarding Palestine, the Coalition for Mutual Liberation, which is the organization of multiple student organizations and community organizations that's been leading this charge, has expanded demands to include restitution and reparations for indigenous tribes that Cornell has taken land from, a return of mineral interests to tribal nations who were dispossessed by the Morrill Act, which led to the creation of Cornell, the establishment of Indigenous Studies program, returning surplus land, um, just really imaginative ideas of what Cornell should be aiming for if it were truly to represent the equitable institution.
Wow, incredible. I love this because you can already see that there are really unique things that are coming out of each of these encampments, even though people are united in their cause for Palestinian liberation and also for an immediate stop to the genocide in Gaza. It's incredible how I see that you're already making these connections with the local community and your local conditions. Natalie, how is it that you are accomplishing this encampment in Michigan? This is in East Lansing, right?
Correct. Here in East Lansing, we started our encampment early yesterday morning after the University Board of Trustees has said that they will not be considering divestment in their most recent meeting about a month ago. So we started this encampment yesterday morning, inspired by many of the other universities doing the same thing. We've been at it since then, and we have had a little bit of pushback from police officers, but no arrests so far. And at the beginning of the encampment, we had some police officers say we weren't allowed to pitch tents, and they threatened to remove us. However, they didn't do that, and the Board of Trustees actually, after some push to do so, approved a permit for us to camp out in the People's Park on campus until Sunday. Once that permit expires, we will have some planning to do. However, we have made some good progress at asserting our own right to protest on campus. Our next step is just to get the university to rescind their statement that they won't be considering divestment and to hold them accountable for the investments that they're making, and also support Palestinian and Arab students on our campus in better ways than they have before.
Incredible. Yeah. So as you can see, folks have been really busy out there, which again is why we're so grateful that you were able to join us on this show today. I haven't actually seen, call me crazy, I haven't actually seen like a panel of people who are at different occupations sort of being able to have this discussion, to hear what each other are doing. Before we move on to the more theoretical questions, though, I want to offer a perspective from New York City. We have a clip from NYU that I think it would be great if the producer could play.
So, my name is Kay Cabro, they, them pronouns, and I'm here with the Queens Club of the Communist Party. And who am I speaking with?
Vincent Flores, he, him pronouns.
And we are at Washington Square Park, around NYU buildings. Are you an NYU student?
Yes, I'm NYU's a junior year.
All right. So could you let us know what's been going on lately? Why am I hearing a helicopter in the background?
Yeah.
And what's that back there?
Well, there's obviously been pro-Palestine protests since everything happened and started in October. But yesterday, because of what's going on at Columbia, Yale, we had an encampment on Gold Plaza in front of Stern Business School. Peaceful protests, faculty and students took part, and NYU decided to call NYPD and bring the police in to clear a peaceful protest. And there was over 140 students and faculty arrested. Faculty spent the night in jail with their students. So what you're seeing here is a response to what happened yesterday, and there's going to be much more to come. So.
All right. And do we have any details about what's to come, or like how people are thinking about this on the ground?
I mean, like, if anything, this has just made people more impassioned to stand up. Obviously, we go to NYU, we're very privileged students, so this is kind of like a requirement for us. So if anything, what happened last night made us more impassioned, and I think just a lot more of what you're seeing is going to happen now. A lot more things in the park, a lot more things at NYU, a lot more walkouts. Yeah. So yeah.
Yeah, so we're about a block, maybe 2 blocks away from where the NYU students were camping out over there. I don't know if you can cut over there and see some of the wood, or maybe we'll capture it later.
We'll do it. Yeah, we'll do it
Okay.
later. We'll cut it in.
All right. But
I can
clearly,
speak to that a little bit too. Like,
sure.
yeah, after the encampment last night, now there's wooden boards and a police officer / campus security, not sure, walking outside of Stern School, and they put wooden boards out to block the school off. Now in front of Bobstar Library, there's police all in front of it. You can't get in it without showing identification. And then the plaza in between Bobst and another building, they have completely shut off and have a whole ID checkpoint. So.
yeah, what are your demands?
So I'm not completely well versed with all of them, but I know the big ones are for NYU to be transparent about where they're sending their money. So to basically not unleash, but release their financial records and divest from NYU Tel Aviv, close the global site we have there, and divest from everything in that Israeli government, Israel in general. There might be a few more. I think those are the two most important ones. Right?
So you're telling me that NYU students are paying money to go to the school and they don't know where their money is going after it leaves their hands?
Exactly. We're paying for the school $80,000 a year, and it's going towards a genocide where more than 40,000 people have been killed. So.
But that 80,000 doesn't pay for free speech, apparently.
Apparently not. So apparently it also pays for NYU to get NYPD in and disrupt a peaceful protest.
Awesome. So anyway, just to give you an idea a little bit of what's going on in New York, I've been up at Columbia the last 2 days in a row, trying to cover it for People's World. And so I was just wondering, how is it, since we're all communists on this call, and we're all very involved in our communities and in this issue in particular, how is it that you all are bringing the Communist Plus to your organizing spaces, right? Like, our goal is not to go in and take stuff over. Our goal is to basically add the Communist Plus to mass movements, and this is definitely a mass movement. So I was wondering, Craig, if you could talk to us a little bit about how you would bring the Communist Plus to the encampment at Yale.
Yes, so although you're motivated by what's going on in Gaza, the broader political context right now, we're connecting this to other issues. I think we're really trying to make this sort of a popular working class movement, and not only on the issue of demands, right, are the very basic demands being disclosure and divestment, but the third and final demand here at Yale that's really important is reinvestment. What reinvestment looks like is Yale really engaging with the political and economic life of the city of New Haven in a way that isn't exploitive and isn't extractive. So that's a huge part of this right now. That's why the smears that are sort of going on, the attacks, trying to paint this as sort of a racial or um, religious movement are just sort of totally out of place. And what we see is that students, in solidarity with their faculty and solidarity with workers, both on and off of their campus, are really reimagining what universities in this country look like. And so that's what I think that it means to add the communist sort of aspect to this, the popular aspect to this, why this movement is so important, and it really lasts beyond just the issue of Palestine.
Nice. Yeah, no, I think we're going to get to that next, the question of how to make this, how to sustain this. But Natalie, could you discuss with us, please, how it is that you're bringing the Communist Plus to your collectives that you're involved in?
Absolutely. So I think as communists, we bring a really unique perspective and we can shed some light on other issues, kind of like Craig had mentioned. But especially with all of these demands for divestment at Michigan State and also at all these other universities, you can't talk about divestment without talking about class. And when you go to a public university, that is so critical. Especially when you're learning about these class relations in your own classes at the university where they teach you about these things, yet at the same time they are working to suppress our voices and create further division. And I think as communists, we have a duty to shed some light on how these institutions are trying to suppress our voices and create further division. And I think that that's really what the Communist Plus is all about here, especially at a public university where our own tuition dollars and our taxes are funding the space that we are in. Yet we are still facing active suppression from police officers, law enforcement, and the administration.
Yeah, for sure. Jason, how about at Cornell? How is the club up there bringing the Communist Plus?
Yeah, so I think the Cornell movement is very fortunate to say that many of the people who are leading among us are already communistic aligned in their direction and in their strategy. But what the Ithaca Club has been really bringing toward the movement and now the encampment is the sort of manifestation of this idea of we protect each other, that we keep us safe. We've been really active in making sure there are an appropriate amount of street safety people, marshals, if you want to call them that, people who are making sure that tensions don't arise to the point where people are put in harm's way, making sure that counter protesters aren't made to become erratic, making sure that police are communicated with efficiently, making sure that people are safe. We're very lucky that we're able to control it to a certain extent, unlike maybe in New York City or in Texas, where the police there's no real space for dialogue. In Ithaca, the movement isn't so strong that the police have kind of acquiesced to the movement's energy, especially in BLM, and that legacy still lives on. And so we've been really trying to preserve that hesitancy that the cops have, and using it to make sure that nothing becomes violent to the extent that it has in the city.
Right. Yeah, no, that is definitely a challenge. And I think that, last night I was up at Columbia and the Department of Corrections brought in 7 prison buses, empty prison buses. And I was sort of like, oh, I wonder what's going on up here. And of course, nothing really was going on. Obviously, this is a way for the NYPD and the New York City Department of Corrections to pad their already bulging wallets with more overtime money. But that is something that's definitely of a concern. There's the state repression of the thing. There's the university repression of the thing. But I'm just very curious as to what you all are planning to do when the semester is over. Because when you go up to Columbia, you can see it right there. They always have their commencement out on their lawns. And so they've got all the chairs sort of pre-positioned, ready to go. They've got the tent ready to go. And I keep on thinking to myself, what is it that's going to happen when we hit mid-May and classes are out for the summer? Craig, what is it that Yale's planning on doing? Or
Yes,
what
so
you could share about that, at least.
of course, of course.
Yeah.
Well, here at Yale, since our encampment was destroyed on Beinecke Plaza, we've shifted and moved to another location called Cross Campus. It's seen in a lot of pictures of Yale right in front of Sterling Memorial Library. And so immediately in the immediate sense, we're focused on relocating, sustaining our occupation, maintaining the space, continuing to have community members out, and then moving from there. But yes, of course, this movement can't stop. We can't leave the momentum that we've built over the past almost 2 weeks now. And so it's fully our intention to keep going, um, to continue to escalate, and to continue to put pressure on our university until it meets our demands. We have, obligations, of course, to the people of Gaza, our fellow students, our fellow faculty over there, as well as to the people here, like, for example, in the city of New Haven, um, who for decades have continued to be taken advantage of by the Yale, that frankly is, acts as an academic institution, but at the same time as a corporation. We can't let go of that. We have to continue moving here, and that's fully our intention.
Awesome. Jason, how is Ithaca going to sustain this when we come into mid-May?
Yeah, so Ithaca, because it's so far away, and everyone who goes to this university is somewhere else, they go home. It is kind of hard to maintain that momentum. But I guess we're kind of taking a page out of Lenin's "What Is to Be Done." Maybe not directly, but the general idea of making sure that the spontaneous movement, the people who are showing up to protest just because they're asked to, the people who care enough about the issue to show up and put themselves at risk, aren't just doing that, and that their work doesn't end there. um, we're really emphasizing that people who show up, people who are interested in the movement, join an organization, whether it be Jewish Voice for Peace at Cornell, the SJP that we have at Cornell, any of the ethnic or cultural clubs that we have here, and the Communist Party itself. Making sure that the people who are interested are in internal channels and organizational channels, so that not only can they be called upon more reliably when they are needed, but they can also contribute to the movement into becoming a much stronger, more cohesive thing for the next semester.
Wonderful. Yeah, planting seeds for the future. I love that. Natalie, how about in Michigan?
Yeah, so we're actually facing a unique challenge at the moment, and that's because we're already in our finals week, and commencement ceremonies actually begin today here at MSU.
Oh my
So
goodness.
yeah, it's quite a busy week, and one of the main challenges that poses is that many of our students are moving out of their dorms and heading back home this week. And with an event such an event as big as graduation, um, we are anticipating possible pushback from law enforcement and administration, um, who are worried about us possibly disrupting these events, which it was an issue in planning things. It posed a significant obstacle in doing so. However, MSU is so fortunate to have the support of our community around us. We have outstanding community members and faculty members who have been turning out to our encampment that started yesterday and showing up and showing out. And I don't doubt that they will continue supporting the students who will remain on campus after our semester is officially over. So we intend on using this to build some momentum, go out with a bang, and really pick up and start strong once our semester starts in the fall.
Nice. Yeah, no, I was actually reading a statement that was signed by our fraternal party in Palestine, the Palestinian People's Party, this morning, and they're calling it the Student Intifada, which I thought was really, really great. But here's the other thing too: is we have so much about this in the press. People are really, it's hard to say red baiting, but it's just they're getting worked up into such a lather about these things. I mean, every kind of encampment that I've seen, people are very gentle and kind, and like you have books at Yale, and they have arts and crafts up at Columbia and stuff like that. But they're making it out to seem like these are the worst people ever. Mike Johnson was up at Columbia giving a press conference, dragging up all these old lies about what's going on overseas, but also just smearing the student body with the most ridiculous stuff. And I'm worried, and I think that this was a concern that I heard from a lot of organizers on the ground this week as well, that there is a shifting of attention from what's going on in Gaza and the West Bank to the student movement here in the United States. So I'm just curious, how is it in each of your circumstances that you are able to sort of absorb the reality of this being something that exists in time and space and in a geography that you're familiar with, while at the same time not letting people get distracted, keeping people focused on Gaza? So, Craig, would you mind sharing how it is you're going about doing that at Yale?
Of course, yes, and totally agree. This whole, shifting things to the campus culture wars discourse is a familiar tactic we've seen, and it's going on here. Just anecdotally, I was told by some organizers earlier today. There's an article out about me and a few other people I know in the country by the New York Post referring to me as a George Soros-funded Maoist or something to that effect. So the red baiting is definitely there. Totally right on that. Um, I think the way that we're getting around this is one, by recognizing our privileged position as students, and sort of compensating for that by the fact that we're integrating New Haven organizations and into our movement, into the coalition here at Yale. So that's a key part of it. But also just in our messaging, yes, continuing to keep the focus on Palestine, on securing a ceasefire, on ending the complicity of our government and of our private institutions here. We're asked a lot about what's going on. We're asked to, condemn certain countries or certain organizations, but never asked to condemn the entities here. So really, staying consistent, holding the line in our messaging has been really, really, really important. Um, Staying firm in our principles, I think we've done a good job of that so far. And so, yes, we just have to, you know, keep our eyes on the end objective here, which is a ceasefire, which is Palestinian liberation, which is divestment, and reimagining our academic institutions here in the country.
Wow, that guy George Soros owes me so much money. People have been
Mhm.
telling me that he's paying me for so many years now, and it's like he's such a deadbeat. Like he owes me millions at this point. So I hope you get your money from George as well, Craig. Okay, Natalie, I'm gonna pitch it over to you. How is it that you're keeping the attention and the focus on Gaza right now, especially since you're in finals week? Oh my goodness.
Yeah, so it has been chaotic. However, I think our student body has been really great about building community and supporting one another in doing this encampment, despite it being finals week and having graduation right around the corner. We're working on taking shifts and, giving everyone the ample amount of space and time that they need to accomplish everything that they need to do. But in terms of keeping it focused on Gaza in our outward facing messaging, we've been really focused on just holding the line with our messaging and what our goals and demands are. We want divestment. We want our university to call for a ceasefire and support Palestinian and Arab students on our campus. And I think we've been really steadfast in maintaining our message and our demands. So I think as long as we continue to do that, that will be a huge bonus to us. But I think it's also important to remember that most of the United States and most of students are on our side. And so, even in the face of sources like the New York Post using these red pilling tactics, we are still maintaining the popularity. And we are really just reminding others not to buy into those narratives because at the end of the day, we are the popular force.
Right. Yeah. No, you get so much strength and so much energy from remembering and constantly reminding yourself that you're on not only the right side of history, but you have the masses behind you. You have, working class people in this country behind you. I think that that always gives me a lot of comfort, especially when you're dealing with the haters in the post. Jason, how is it that you're keeping the focus on what's going on in Palestine, given all of what's going on in the news?
Yeah, this has been a particular challenge because the Ithaca campus of Cornell is very problematically apolitical. This has been an issue that we've been dealing with for quite some time. Although there's like a huge mass of students that are now being brought into the movement with a liberatory fervor, there is still a not insignificant amount of people who just kind of want to push it off all away. And so a lot of our tactics have had to be like really in your face. Really, you can't keep ignoring the situation in Gaza and in Palestine. And one of the ways we've been doing this is in alongside the encampment, we have a huge apartheid wall. I think there's actually been some slides in this a stream that show it. We have a huge apartheid wall listing the amount of people killed, having some artwork from really talented artists we have here at Cornell, symbolism for the Gaekohono, which is the indigenous nation that has claim to this land. Um, Also, the encampment has been positioned to be a community center. It's not just an occupation of students in their tents. For example, today we have a huge line of events of people coming in to speak, poets coming in to talk about Palestine, educationals about Palestine, the Palestinian resistance movement. Just really trying to make everything in the encampment really centered on Palestine through just making everything that happens in the encampment regarding Palestine. Um, yeah, thank you.
Wonderful. Yeah. And please do let Queens Club know if anybody's planning anything around Cornell's campus on Roosevelt Island, because I understand that a lot of that tech stuff is happening there. And even though Roosevelt Island is technically part of Manhattan, I think that the Queens Club has already discussed this and decided that since the bridge runs from there to Queens, that we will relate to it. So please let us know if anything happens
Yes,
on Roosevelt
definitely.
Island. Let's go ahead and roll the last clip, and then we will have one or two last questions, and then we will close out the show. So here is our clip from the news.
My name is Bella. I'm a student at the New School, involved in the encampment of the New School for Gaza.
All right. And so we're here. The encampment is just inside the building, correct?
Yeah, it's just inside of the building, like right past the gates. We just have a security turnstile, so it looks a little different than the other encampments in the city.
All right. And how long has it been here?
We entered the building on Admitted Students Day, which was on Sunday in the morning, and we've been here ever since. So we're on day 3 now.
All right. And why are the students camping out here?
I mean, we're camping out. I think so, like Columbia really lit up a spark, and so the minute that happened, we were like, shit, we gotta do the same thing. Sorry to be but no, I mean, we're camping out in solidarity with Columbia, but more importantly, because we're demanding that our university divest from any companies that are funding the genocide in Gaza and the occupation of Gaza. The New School hasn't even disclosed any of their endowment. Presently, if you do research, you can find stuff, but we're demanding them stop funding that with our tuition dollars. We will be here till they do that.
So yeah, we were talking with an NYU student just a few blocks down, and they said the same thing, that the financial records of the university are not public. So you're paying money and you don't know where it's going. That's correct?
Yeah, it's crazy. That's correct. That's correct.
And is the New School public or private?
It's a private school, yeah. So you pay a lot of money and you have a lot of questions.
And so have you met any resistance here? I know the police have been pretty harsh on the students at Columbia.
Yeah, I mean, so it's funny. The cops have been called on us like 3 times by students, but not by administration. Administration is really trying to play good cop right now and not call the cops on us. But the administration has threatened us with suspension. They have ripped down our posters. They stepped on our posters that have the names of academic Palestinian martyrs. And they continue to threaten us and try to mess with us. There's also some like Zionist students on campus who have like engaged a little bit, but there hasn't actually been as many counter-protesters student-wise as I thought there would be.
Wow. So did I hear that properly? You said the administrators have torn down the signs and stepped on them.
Yeah, yesterday they were tearing down signs off the window because it violates the poster policy. And they were ripping them in half, and we had this long list of academic martyrs in Gaza, and they had stepped on it. And it's hard to kind of read that as anything but provocative.
Wow. So I know that there have been accusations about all these encampments and the student protesters being anti-Semitic. Has that been true? I mean,
I'm Jewish myself, and like the school opened a Title VI case against me for protesting a Hillel event in which an IOF soldier was on campus. So, like, no, it's not anti-Semitic. We had Seder here last night. A lot of us are Jewish. I think a lot of us understand our Judaism in a lineage of opposing this type of oppression and of opposing genocide, and don't understand our Judaism strictly through the vein of like a nation state. So no, it's not anti-Semitic, and I'm like really so sick of this dialogue because it's so old.
I think we have some footage of the UAW sign back there, and there's also a 32BJ sign. What's up with that?
Yeah, so the unions have been really, really imperative for this because they've been providing the outside support, and so shout out to the unions. But UAW, the part-time faculty at the New School, as well as the academic student workers, are under UAW 7902, and they've been super supportive. The other thing that we're dealing with is that the non-academic student workers, the people who work in the print shops, the RAs, etc., they don't have a union. They've been pushing for recognition through the school, and the school has not allowed them to join under the umbrella of UAW, our chapter here. So they're picketing here to say you need to give us our rights. You need to let us be recognized by the NLRB, and that like without our labor, this school falls apart because the school runs on like underpaid student labor. That's the main thing, and they're being threatened with suspension for protesting. So I think that like we can trace all of the threads of capitalism, imperialism. But the union is really a vital infrastructure here, and we are in solidarity with them, and we're here for them just as much as they are for us in terms of Palestine.
All right. Thanks for speaking with us. Do you believe that this is winnable?
I have to believe it's winnable. We have to believe it's winnable. Yeah, we have to.
I think that personally, the most inspiring thing about all of these encampments is how when the police bust one up, people just go back. You know, I know it hasn't happened all of the time, but I think that that for me is a great source of inspiration because it sort of recalls the Great March of Return in Gaza that happened some years ago, where people were marching and nothing could stop them. And it just sort of brings to mind like the idea of returning, you know, and of having that space that is yours, the students, and not the bosses and not the warmongers and not the imperialists. So yeah, I just want to thank all of you so much for being on the show today. It means a lot. I'm hopeful that everyone will share this far and wide. Before we wrap up the show, however, I do want to mention you'll be able to go to our YouTube page today to see those clips from NYU and the New School, as well as be able to rewatch this wonderful episode of Good Morning Revolution. Also, please be sure to check out People's World, because there is a story that I filed that I think is going up today. That is from Columbia that features, you know, Mike Johnson's press conference and some interviews with students who are involved out there. But that does bring us to our pitch. We are still at the very final stretch of the fund drive, right? So it's supposed to wrap on May 1st. And so if you haven't given already to all of our viewers, I encourage you to please give a little bit more so that we can make this benchmark happen. We want to be able to keep bringing you information like this, both in People's World and also from the Communist Party. And so your support goes a long way at making sure that we can expand our capacity and keep on having these kinds of wonderful conversations with our cadre in the field right now. So I salute all of you. And yeah, I appreciate everything that you've done and are doing for Gaza. If you have a mailbag question, or if you want to pitch a segment or topic, maybe you're out at Yale or, you know, Michigan State or Cornell, and you come across something that maybe you want to take footage of, or you want to do an interview with somebody on the ground, please do that, and then send it to gmr@cpusa.org, and we will make sure that it gets out on the party's platforms. Yeah, so yeah, keep up the struggle. Free Palestine. Thank you so much, everyone. Take care. Have a good weekend. Oh, stay strong. This is a really important one. We really need to plug the actual slogan at the end this week. Stay strong, stay safe, and stay in the fight. And we will see you next Friday. Take care, everyone.